Welcome to DM of the Mists, covering all things Curse of Strahd and Ravenloft. And today I'm going to be talking about Shadows of Sithicus, a new, albeit short, adventure series brought out coinciding with Ravenloft the Horrors Within. It's an organised play adventure series that's part of what's called the D&D Encounters program. And my approach to this video, kind of giving you a rough sort of run through, but not necessarily beat by beat. I'm kind of talking about what kind of ideas you can borrow and then use and put in your own Ravenloft campaign, for example. If you're running one of the domains, might be some useful information, flavor, encounter ideas, inspiration and flavor for locations, monsters, and so on. I did similar with Ravenloft Mist Hunters. I had to split that across 2 videos because there was so much to it. That was Adventures League stuff that came out alongside the previous Ravenloft book. This one is much shorter than Ravenloft Mist Hunters. It just consists of 1 longer adventure and 4 shorter ones. The longer one's set in Sithicus, and the shorter ones are set in Tepest, Darkon, Borca and Valachan. So if you're running one of those domains, or a couple of them, you might want to check it out. It was originally available as part of the Horrors Within bundle on D&D Beyond. That's how I got a hold of it. But it's now available for $4.99 via D&D Beyond's marketplace directly, separately, and I'll include a link in the description. I noticed that the maps they use tie into the official map pack that was provided alongside the Horrors Within as well. I'll include a link in the description for that as well. Or you can get them as either digital or physical maps, or both. If they're digital, you get them in D&D Beyond's VTT, I would have thought. I'm not sure if you could then take them out of that and then reuse them in something like Roll20, which is what I tend to use. One idea could be you download the images for 5 of them that appear in Shadows of Sithicus. So if you buy Shadows of Sithicus, you could grab them that way and then put them in your VTT of choice. I'd like to give a shout out as well to Robodad1, who's a fellow D&D YouTuber, and he's done videos about these. I think he'd split it into 5 videos, 1 for each adventure. I'll include links to them in the description. And inevitably, spoilers warning. If you want to play Shadows of Sithicus one day, you probably don't want to watch this. This is kind of like a guide for DMs running it, or for Ravenloft DMs in general. The first adventure is called Grave Awakenings, and it's set in Sithicus, the domain of Lord Soth. This is the longest and most complex, because the original idea of it involves 4 groups all playing at the same time. And depending on what one group does, it can affect the others. But it can still kind of be used standalone, just one group, I imagine. It's intended for level 3 characters, the idea being that they level up to level 4 and then 5 as these adventures go on. It starts with the Mists pulling the adventurers in from their homeworld and into Sithicus, specifically the ruined city of har-thelen. They meet the witch, Inza. Now, in old Ravenloft lore, she was Vistani, and a horrible, cruel Vistana as well, if I remember correctly. I think she was one of the main characters in one of the Ravenloft novels called Spectre of the Black Rose, and she did some horrible things to a stone giant called Nabon, who I talked about in a sort of good NPCs video. Good as in good aligned, but they're good as well. So if you want to learn what happened and what she did to Nabon, watch that video. She appears here and also in the Sithicus chapter of Ravenloft the Horrors Within, and in the Dungeon Master's actual play, which I'm thinking of doing a video of soon. There's no new art for her, sadly. The old art from either 2nd or 3rd edition, which I'm showing at the moment, is by Talon Dunning, who was an artist who was hired and commissioned a lot to do some of the art back then. In this, she's described as, I quote, a tall woman with raven hair, bright green eyes, and grey robes. She says Soth recently raged, which disturbed ancient spirits, and so she's now worried the after effects might affect things in the domain, which is where the PCs come in. The centre of the spirit activity is the har-thelen cemetery, and they're told that innocent civilians are trapped in the cemetery and someone needs to rescue them, so PCs go there. Corresponds with the cemetery map from the map pack. On D&D Beyond, there's a DM version which is labelled as well as a player's version. And the first of 5 encounters in this adventure is combat with 4 shadows and 3 spectres, plus there's 2 civilians, one of whom gives potions and gold as thanks if they're saved. And she can also say that there's other people that got pulled into some of the graves by some of the spirits, so they've got to try and find those people and rescue them. Then there's a Raven interruption section, because 3 were-ravens appear, extinguish 6 lanterns lighting the area, and then attack the PCs. This feels a bit weird to me, because were-ravens are typically good, as in good aligned, thinking of the Keepers at the Feather faction, unless they maybe been possessed, or there's been a misunderstanding, I think the PCs are evil, or the writers just saw them as cool monsters to throw at the players, and I don't know. It's not explained though, I don't think. There's mechanics for what happens when all the lanterns go out as kind of like a magical darkness effect, and for how to relight them. Once everything's relit, the were-ravens have been dealt with, and the survivors are saved. If they're saved, they can find gold and a magical sword. They have a minute to heal, and do other stuff if they want to do other stuff. And then monsters attack from some of the graves. Different tables, or I mentioned earlier, there's like 4 tables playing at once. Different tables have different enemies, with more monsters if not everyone was saved from before. So table 1 has a wight and 3 swarms of zombie limbs. Table 2 has 3 ghouls, 3 swarms of zombie limbs. Table 3 has 2 ogre zombies, 2 swarms of zombie limbs. And table 4 has 3 boneless and 3 swarms of zombie limbs. I used D&D Beyond's encounter builder to see if they were kind of balanced, because some of those sound harder than others, but they all give sort of similar XP amounts. But I don't know, 3 ghouls, challenge rating 1 each, feels deadlier than 1 wight, which is challenge rating 3, but with their paralyzing claws. But they're all deadly anyway for 4 level 3 PCs. More monsters can be added if one table finishes before the others. Just that table that finishes first gets an extra monster or 2, and the other tables get minor boons to help them finish their monsters. It ends and they get more healing potions and more gold. We're now over halfway through with this particular adventure. There's a door puzzle on the doors of a mausoleum that some innocent people were pulled into. I'll show one example, but there's 4 of them. And it's a bit like Spot the Difference. There's an S on one of them, and then the others, instead of an S, it's something else. An O, a T, or an H, spelling soft. If you touch the wrong letters, they take necrotic damage, and the people inside can as well, and could potentially not only be hurt but killed as a result. Then the final encounter, a zombie clot. Zombie clots are hard, the challenge rating 6, but it says it doesn't have all its effects, or that some effects aren't active all of the time. Lastly, they're told that 4 shadow ravens disappear into the mists, and Inza asks the PCs to hunt them down, which leads quite nicely into the next 4 adventures. They're also given Inza's Blessing, a reusable charm type effect, where they can self-heal 2d4 plus 2 hit points as a bonus action, once per adventure for the remaining 4 adventures. The next adventure, the first of the 4 shorter ones, is called Terror in Tepest. I've never actually run the domain of Tepest. So this one and later ones are much shorter than the first one, the Sithicus one. It says that south of Kelly, if that's how it's pronounced, in the dread domain of Tepest, rests the village of Oatmarsh. I checked the Tepest map, and while I see Kelly, I don't see Oatmarsh. So that's another point of interest you could add if you're running Tepest in a campaign or whatever. The first Shadow Raven corrupts a druid who uses its power to make a death's head tree. People there are preparing for a feast, the festival, which ends with a ritual burning of a figure that represents famine. Some folks went to the ritual site but haven't returned, so the PCs are asked to investigate. They get there and they find a hobgoblin captain and 5 bugbear guards, which just use the standard guard stat block in 5.5 euros. The corrupted druids summoned them to the area, and they stayed because there's lots of food and not many monsters. There's a map, which looks really cool and sort of fits the vibe. The PCs can try and talk them into leaving. They refuse initially, they need convincing twice, or fight them, kick them out basically. Then they find and fight the druid with a death's head tree and 8 death's heads. I talked about the death's head tree in a recent video I did where I covered all the brand new monsters from the Horrors Within that weren't ones that were carried over from the previous Ravenloft book. They're in the part 1 video. I split into 2 parts. There's a really cool mechanic I like called losing your head. It says, and I quote, a character reduced to 0 hit points by death's head has their own head replaced by the one that knocked them unconscious. Roll on the losing your head table to determine the character's new appearance. The change is permanent, but does not change the character's abilities. I've actually got a D10, and I'm going to roll this twice. Okay, I got a 1. So my new head would be a giant lizard. And I rolled another 1. How weird. A giant lizard with 1 eye. So there we go. Giant lizard head with 1 eye. And it does say later on that might affect roleplay in future adventures, which is pretty cool. With the enemies defeated, the Shadow Raven goes to fly away, dissipates, and the mist closes around them and they can grab some treasure, including gold and more magic items before they go. Next adventure, Death in Darkon. I've not yet run Darkon, but I plan to. It's going to be the end game location of my current domain hopping campaign, and it's probably going to be like the next domain, maybe 2 domains away, we'll see. This one focuses on the Kargat and the Kargatane, the vampire secret police, and their stronghold beneath the city of Martira Bay, and we now have a map of Martira Bay in the Horrors Within. The Kargatane superior has undergone a terrible transformation. Her name is Jocast Trube. That's a really solid D&D NPC name, I feel. And the second Shadow Raven turned her into a vampire mind flayer. PCs are deposited right outside the stronghold, so that's pretty handy. The map of the stronghold is really cool. I might use this in my game if I have the opportunity to do so. And the first encounter is a fight with a vampire familiar, 2 bandit captains, and 4 toughs. Vampire familiars are a new monster in 5.5e Monster Manual. Toughs are as well, but I think they're reworked thugs. but the toughs, who are all dwarves, surrender if the vampire familiar is killed. They rescue 2 gnomes, and the gnomes and the dwarves can give info that can help them, plus there's some treasure. Next, they find lots of sarcophagi. All have dead bodies in except for 4 of them, the X's on the map, each of which contain a living person whose life force is slowly being drained. And there's mechanics for opening them, plus traps that are on them as well. Then they meet the vampire mind flayer Troob, who's in the process of turning 4 toughs into 4 vampire familiars. This is weird because vampire familiars are people, so it's not really something you get transformed into. I wonder if they were meant to be vampire spawn originally, but their challenge rating was too high and they lowered them to familiars. Anyway, it explains that each tough is turned into a vampire familiar every 8 rounds, possibly less time depending on the PC's earlier actions. Also, there's mechanics for a 10-foot square area that reverberates with psychic energy, and if somebody goes in there, there's an intelligence saving throw, and if they fail, they take psychic damage, they're hurled away, which means bludgeoning damage as well, and they get a symbol of har-thelen on their forehead, a desiccated skull. And it says you have advantage on initiative rolls, but disadvantage on constitution saving throws. That's an interesting one. I really like that. Unless you're a spellcaster that relies on concentration spells a lot, in which case that would probably really suck. Again, if Troob is defeated, the Shadow Raven flies out of her and dissipates. There's more treasure, including magical armor and gold. And when they leave the stronghold, the mists grab them and spirit them away again to their next location. Blood in Borca. I've not run Borca, but I've always wanted to. It's a domain of intrigue and treachery made up of lots of noble families. And we get a bit of additional information about 2 of them. The Nobriskofs, who in The Horrors Within says they're tied to religion. In Shadows of Sithicus, it gives a bit more information. It tells us that they got rich selling miracle cures, miracle in quotes, performing fraudulent seances, and just generally profiting from their knowledge of the supernatural, and that many of them follow the cult of Ozzibus. So that's interesting. And the other family is the Olzeniks, who are known for their metalwork. And it focuses on 1 NPC from each of those families, Ansel Nobriskov and Avri Olzenik, but the Shadow Raven, the 3rd one, possesses one of them. There's also some really cool cross-domain flavour here. The Olzenik family, and I quote, most reliable client is General Vladeska Drakov, Volkovnia's Dark Lord, who by the sounds of it, they create war machines for. The adventure starts with them rescuing Avri Olzenik from wolves that were attacking his carriage and his entourage and his guards. He's attending dinner at the home of Ansilo Nobriskov, a friend and business partner, and he offers to pay the characters 100 gold total to act as his guards. They arrive at Ansilo's castle, but shadowy forms appear that conveniently cause the PCs to fall unconscious. They wake up in the top room of this map. There's a mechanical spider which Ansilo wants Avri to fix. In the form of motivation, an Azir pyromancer appears and attacks the nearest creature, but not Avri. The idea is that they can help Avri fix the spider quicker, and when it's fixed, the Azir pyromancer is pulled into it, acting as its power source, so they don't need to fully defeat it to get rid of it. It's a door that needs lock picking, so it could be a good time to shine for the rogue PC, or Avri can pick it for them. It says that the mechanical spider acts as an animated armor. Cool, but it breaks the first time it deals or takes damage. Boo! That's really disappointing. I don't like that. Give the people what they want. They want mechanical spiders. The bottom room is the second and final encounter. Ansilo is a priest of Ozzibus with 2 cult fanatics and 4 spies as allies/minions. There's also a thing where it talks about how the tanks in the northwest and northeast of the room can explode, requiring a constitution saving throw and dealing lightning damage. Again, once he's defeated, the Shadow Raven dissipates. There's more treasure, plus you can get bonus treasure if Avri survived. Because he's a priest of Ozzibus, killing Ansilo gives them an ongoing effect where they have, and I quote, advantage on intelligence ability checks concerning the undead and the mists. That adventure felt really short. Was that just me? But yeah. And finally, victory in Valachan, which I always thought was pronounced Valachan. I think Valachan officially, but I think they did when Van Richten's guide came out. I did see some people working at Wizards of the Coast who were saying Valachan, so I just assumed it was Valachan. I've run Valachan, did a whole video about it. We can spend an hour and 20 minutes with me mispronouncing the domain name. Hooray! And it starts with that classic Valachan start. They see some people running and one of them says, run or die. They start on the southern part of the trail on this map. 3 commoners are pulled into the overgrowth and the PCs can save them by killing 6 phase spiders. And it gives info about the terrain of the map, or of Valachan as a whole, plus effects from standing next to a tree trunk which tries to ensnare you, or by going into the web. The family is saved and they can provide info and potions of healing. They say that a great shadowy form in the shape of a bat has been chasing them for hours. The PCs can set up an ambush and there's mechanics for it and what they need to beat DC-wise in order for it to be successful, and they can choose either stealth or nature. They don't have to just do stealth. It says that the last of the Shadow Ravens has taken the form of a Strigoi, if that's how it's pronounced, and it's bought a Tyrannosaurus Rex under its spell. I love that. I know some people kind of think it's a bit weird to include dinosaurs in Ravenloft, but I think it works in Valachan to a degree, so long as you don't overdo it. And just having a T-Rex mini-boss is really cool. And if they help the family can throw rocks, which may hurt the monsters a little. It's the thought that counts, right? And if they defeat the Strigoi before the T-Rex, they might be able to lure it away with an animal handling check. And that's it. That's the last Shadow Raven gone. The mists appear, Inza's there, and she gives them a choice. She can return them to their home world or back to Sithicus. And they get Inza's final blessing, which replaces the original one from the first adventurer, which is 4d4 plus 4 hit points, once per long rest. But it says any attacks against Inza are made with disadvantage, and you have disadvantage against saving throws against Inza's spells or abilities. It's a really cool idea. It suggests that Inza could return as a villain. She is evil, after all, alignment-wise. And that's it. There's a thing that says continue your adventures. There's a little section there that suggests you can continue with the adventures in the Horrors Within, such as the 2 level 5 ones, the ones in Lemordia and Borca. The Borca one could be a return visit, or the first of the 2 set in Barovia, the land of Strahd. And that's it. My overall thoughts, it's cool. It's, you know, I didn't fall in love with it, but I don't think it's terrible. I feel rude sort of hating on it because I'm not an adventure designer myself. Have you played it or run it? Let me know. I'd love to know what you thought. Feels very surface level, but I guess it's intended as a taster, getting players and DMs to think, this is cool, maybe I'll buy the Horrors Within now. It doesn't seem to offer much flavour for the domains it covers, unlike what Ravenloft Misthunters did. But then again, Ravenloft's Misthunters was like 14 adventures, all of which were kind of the length of the first one in this one, and some of them were like twice the length of that. So there's a lot more content and a lot more stuff you could dig out. But it feels like it could borrow a lot less from Shadows of Sithicus. In terms of highlights, I'll try and choose at least one from each adventure domain. Sithicus, I like the mechanics around the magical darkness and how it affected the were-ravens. You could work that into any domain. The lights go out, the monsters are stronger, then they're weaker when the lights are turned back on. I really like the losing your head idea from Tepest, the Death's Head replacement thing. The Darkon Kargat stronghold map was really cool. I like the additional flavour for the 2 noble families in Borca and how you've essentially got 2 NPCs, one from each as well. And the Valachan info about the terrain and the map effects and the T-Rex encounter. Is it worth getting? Yeah, maybe not. Arguably, Ravenloft Misthunters was more so because it offered a lot more. Then again, this is only $4.99 for all 5 adventures. Ravenloft Misthunters, I think these days, is like $10 for just one adventure and $100 for the bundle, so it's a lot more expensive. If you're planning to run Sithicus, Tepest, Darkon, Borca, or Valachan, then maybe. But I'd say it's by no means essential. But it might be worth checking out. It's only $4.99, and if you bought the Horrors Within bundle, you might have access to it for free already. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Trying to think of what upcoming Curse of Strahd and Ravenloft videos I've got coming up. Curse of Strahd, I should really do the Babylon Saga video, and I haven't got my list to hand to tell you what else. On the Ravenloft front, as I talked about earlier, I might do a video about the Dungeon Master's Actual Play Season 1, where they covered Sithicus and Innsmouth. Sorry if that's a spoiler alert if you want to watch it and want to know what domains are included. I did a similar thing with the Black Dice Society back when they did that corresponding with Van Richten's Guides to Ravenloft. But got a few more ideas. I want to do more Taroka stuff. And funny enough, just yesterday as I recorded this, I had an idea for a new Taroka product idea to put out in DM's Guild. It'd be my 4th overall. Another one, my 4th in total to do with Taroka. And it'll be my first adventure as well. So I'm very excited. So that's probably going to be beavering away on the next few months while also putting out more videos. I have a membership if you'd like to support me. Thank you very much. It's a bit like Patreon, but YouTube's own thing. You get access to videos early. There's members only videos. There's kind of like more behind the scenes, more general stuff rather than, you know, missing out on, you know, Ravenloft stuff that all the Ravenloft stuff I'll do is public videos. You know what I mean? And discounts on the DM's Guild resources I just mentioned as well, plus a whole bunch of other perks. And we'll leave it there. Thank you for watching.